Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, we are back at it again with another video. And this time it's going to be on Wuthering Waves 3.1 and, of course, Aemeath's weapon. We've got the Everbright Polestar, and I'm just going to be real here. This weapon might be one that changes literally everything based off of the stat combinations that it provides, because it's something that I actually haven't seen before. So, weapons in Wuthering Waves are a very, very, very important topic because they can be a little bit expensive. They are 100% guaranteed, and you do get pulls from the monthly store every time, but you still want to make sure that when you do pull a weapon, it's for a character that you really like, if it's a specific one. And if it's a more general one, it actually works on a bunch of units. We'll be answering all those questions about Everbright Polestar today, so let's go ahead and get right on into it. But before we begin, if you're looking to pull Aemeath or her weapon with some lunite and want to save some cash, LD Shop is the perfect way to do that, and I'll tell you why. LD Shop gives you access to huge discounts on virtually everything you can buy in tons of games. For now, let's focus on Wuwa. The monthly pass, which is usually $5, is much less on ldshop.gg, a great deal. To use this discount, simply select the item, click top up, and submit your payment. Then you'll select self top up. For a limited time, you'll get an additional discount when using this method. After viewing the instructions video, simply enter your Kuro login and password on the browser client. This might seem a bit off, but remember that LD Shop has excellent reviews on Trustpilot. You'll then log in and manually redeem your purchased items in the client. The system will then sign you out and erase your login information. Or you can provide your Kuro login information to LD Shop staff and they can complete your order for you. New users can get a 10% discount and an additional 5% using my sponsored link. First-time top-up bonuses are available as well, and spending $80 or more will get you a VIP membership, which can get you a free 30-day lunite subscription. So try LD Shop today. So, first things first, taking a look at this bad boy, it's a rapier. And if you know about Aemeath's kit and her playstyle, she does a lot of like piercing attacks and like stuff like that, like, you know, like fencing. So it makes sense that she has one of those weapons as like her main thing. So that's how it looks. It kind of just looks like a stick. It's kind of skinny too. So that's just, they got some interesting sword designs and all of that. So the base stats on this weapon are going to be an attack of 587 and a crit rate of 24.3%. So there are some details about Aemeath that make this blend of stats actually pretty great for her. The reason for this is very simple. Aemeath actually is going to have a decent amount of built-in crit based off of her new Sonata set that is going to be releasing in version 3.1, where Inflicting Fusion Burst or Tune Rupture Shifting, which Aemeath can do both of, is going to increase the Resonator's crit rate and their fusion damage. And so you might be thinking, I don't really like that her weapon is crit rate when she's already getting free crit rate from her set. This seems like it's going to be a little bit diluted. Maybe she's not going to deal that much damage at all, bucko. I'm not liking what's being sold over here. Well, that's actually because if you take a look at Aemeath's inherent skill, and it might take you a while to get down here because her kit is criminally fucking long. If you look at her inherent skill, you'll notice she actually has the ability to get up to 60% critical damage from her teammates, based off of whether they can inflict or respond to Tune Rupture or Fusion Burst. So, as you see, don't worry, she won't be missing crit damage. She'll have plenty, and 60% is way more than you'd find from a weapon with 587 attack, and I don't think her set is going to give more than 30% crit rate. If it did, that would be fucking crazy, because the most we get from sets nowadays is 20. And like no other buffs. Anyways, that's going to be the conversation on the base stats. And of course, base stats are going to be very important because they will tell us what type of scaling a character is probably going to be. And it's very clear that Aemeath, ladies and gentlemen, is going to scale off of attack. No, she's not like Cart. No, she's not like scaling off defense. She doesn't have any of that weird shit. It's a high base attack weapon because she scales with attack. And that's going to be pretty good for her, pretty good for all of her potential teams. And having this higher base attack weapon is going to be great specifically for her Tune Rupture team. You want to know why? Because guess what Mornier and Linnae do with their Sonata sets and like their entire kit? They buff attack a lot. And then they buff attack a lot over here too. So yeah, she's going to have full synergy from that regard. Makes a lot of sense. Now, let's start taking a bit of a look at the weapon skill. And this is where stuff's going to get a little bit spicy. We're going to be looking at this weapon skill from Syntonization rank 1. The effect is going to be increase all attribute damage bonus by 12%. And when inflicting Tune Rupture Shifting or Fusion Burst, she can do either of these, but they're mutually exclusive. She can't activate both at the same time. The wielder's Resonance Liberation damage ignores 32% of defense, and 10% of fusion resistance on targets for 8 seconds. So she's basically going to have full uptime on this effect at pretty much the entire rotation. And as you can see, she has a huge blend of defense ignore and fusion resistance ignore as well. What this does is basically make her a character that's going to rely a lot more on the damage buffs of her team. Because as you see, this weapon literally just has only a 12% damage bonus. That is actually the only actual damage bonus that's here. However, with her ignoring defense and ignoring fusion resistance, that's going to be a way for her to increase her actual output. But unlike the input side, there's only one line. However, I will draw a bit of a comparison to some other signatures that have released before, because people are looking at things like 32% defense ignore, 10% fusion resistance ignore. Oh, that sounds a little bit broken, brother. Let me actually direct you to some of the most recent signatures that have been released in the game. And one of them actually is Augusta's. And what do you see over here on Augusta's fully stacked up effect over here? 5 times 7.2. I don't know. Isn't that literally 36%? Isn't that literally 36%? Does she feel like she's like breaking the game at 36%? No. She has this, and guess what? Her with doesn't deal as much damage as a Kartithia team. Yeah, her plus deals less damage than Kartithia in her best in slot team. So don't necessarily view the ability to just ignore defense, because this weapon has 36% defense ignore. Don't view it as, like, suddenly the most game-breaking shit in the game. Well, because, like, let's just be honest here, guys. It doesn't seem that game-breaking here. And there are some people, right, that are talking about fusion resistance being big. That's like saying you need to pull this weapon. Because guess what it does? This weapon is one of the furthest things to a must-pull in the fucking game. That's a fact. One of the furthest things in the game from a must-pull. Even though it gives the error resistance reduction, right? So, once again, right? This weapon combines both of those aspects. This weapon actually combines both of those characteristics. It has a slightly lower... Remember, Augusta's is 36% at max stacks. It has a 4% lower defense ignore. And then when it comes to the fusion resistance, it's only for herself. While Chakona applies that resistance reduction for her entire team. So, as you can see over here, right? Kind of has like its own detraction, like in the Fusion Burst team, for example, right? Or even in all of her teams. Mornier and the new Fusion Burst character are going to be Fusion. It'd be kind of nice if that worked for her teammates, right? But it's something that's being held back a little bit over here. And this is also worse than Augusta's. However, when both of those effects are combined, is that enough to absolutely break the actual results? We'll have to see. But this is what I meant by this is one of the most unique weapons we've ever seen. Because it does seem to be taking in a very, not traditional approach to increasing damage. And it seems to be combining some of the existing weapon effects we've had before. But we've never seen this exact combination ever before. Just something to note, just something to think about. And other weapons with like a similar sort of classification, naturally, you can also think about Yuno's. And, well, guess what? Yuno has literally the exact same effect as Augusta, but she actually caps it out way faster, which is funny. I'm surprised she just has this and Augusta doesn't. But yeah, that's the take over here. And so naturally, you might be wondering, you might be asking a couple of questions. Damn, this weapon looks strong, but in a similar sense, this weapon doesn't actually seem that mandatory for her. And this is where I think Kuro has naturally taken a massive, well, break point from what they've traditionally done when it comes to Sentinel signatures. I actually think Aemeath is going to be the least signature-reliant Sentinel we've, ever had. And the reason for that is simple. I don't think EOG is going to be that bad on her. She spams resonant skills. Her kit is literally centered around spamming resonant skills. And guess what EOG is all about, guys? Well, it's pretty clear, right? EOG is about spamming skills. So, obviously, she's not going to have close to the damage buff, but it's the same exact stats. It's the same exact stats, right? ER, which she'll probably need, because she still needs to cast that first one. And then, right, when Resonant Skill is cast, increase attack by certain amounts, she's spamming these. Other weapons she could look into are, well, yeah, she's probably not using this one. This is Chu Yan's signature. She's probably not using Blood Pack's Pledge. She's definitely not using this one. Hell no for Unflickering Valor. That's basic attack. That's Resident Skill. So you can clearly see the main one actually is EOG, but everyone can guarantee EOG. And I'm going to be real here. You can also just test her out with EOG first before pulling her signature. Because, once again, you'll have the same build. You'll have the same exact build with her on EOG or with her on her signature, and you probably already have a level 90 EOG. So yeah, I'd suggest you just give her a try with this one first, but that's going to be kind of like the only alternative that you're going to have available. I don't really think that's too much of an issue because this is easily one of the most accessible weapons in the game. So yeah, I guess from like an alternatives, not that bad, right? And you clearly have an option. I'm not going to go ahead and say EOG is like awful or terrible or like a piece of shit. I'm just saying it's there. And you should go ahead and give it a try. Now, for the other side of the equation, now for the other side of the conversation, does this weapon have any other users? Well, to do that, all you're going to have to do is ask yourself a very simple question, ladies and gentlemen. Are there any characters in the game that can apply Fusion Burst or Tune Rupture Shifting and are sword users? Probably the only character you can dream of maybe being able to use this is the next version of Rover. And that's if the next version of Rover applies Tune effects or Fusion Burst, I guess. Maybe they would. So, but then I guess they'd also have to deal Liberation damage. Yeah, I don't know about that. Maybe not. But yeah, in response to that, guys, there's just literally, unless you plan on just using it as a stat stick for this 12% all attribute damage bonus effect, I just legitimately don't think that there's actually anybody on the roster that can trigger it. Because she doesn't inflict, and she's a broad blade. She does inflict, but she's a pistol user, and the Fusion Burst character that applies Fusion Burst isn't even out yet, the sub DPS. So it's kind of like, you're getting this just for her. And it feels like, if you get it just for her, the performance is going to be incredibly strong. Do you know why? Well, it's because, guys, Aemeath just has a really strong fucking kit. And if you have the teammates to work with Aemeath and make the most out of her kit, this weapon is going to be extremely good because she has a lot of attack buffs, a lot of damage bonuses, a lot of ways to increase her damage bonuses, and being able to stack on a bunch of defense and fusion resistance ignore on top of all these damage bonuses really allows her to probably do a fuck ton, right? And get some great results in her clears. However, I am excited, or really not that excited, to see how much better this is over EOG. So I would just wait to see what the damage calculation numbers are yourself. Test out your Aemeath on EOG. See how the performance is relatively. And then kind of like move forward from there. But yeah, that's my professional advice. Because you're going to get pretty much no use cases out of it anywhere on the roster. It's pretty much completely dead on arrival. Now, we got the question over here regarding the Ascension materials. And I'm just going to be honest over here. It's all the high Roy stuff. You should be able to pre-farm it, but you're not going to be able to very easily upgrade it like you have the weapons in the past. But I don't really think the farming in this game is too much of a fucking deal anyways. So, that's going to be that for this one, ladies and gentlemen. Let me know what you all thought about our breakdown today and whether or not you plan on pulling Aemeath's weapon. And peace out.